Intel Gamer Days are upon us, and more coming up on today's episode of the latest in tech news. Hey Gadgeteer, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the latest in tech news. My name is Taylor American. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss out on the latest. We do this on the daily around here, and we would hate for you to miss out. And by the way, share this episode with a friend if you get anything out of it. It's free and easy to do, and you can share it however you will. But our feature story that we'll be taking a look at is Intel Gamer Days deals on some gaming laptops. Let's just say some of the manufacturers are Razer, Acer, and more, so you want to be taking a look into that. We'll be getting to that in just a moment. We'll also be taking a look at, well, Wi-Fi 6 is barely here, but Wi-Fi 7 is already on the way. We'll also be taking a look at USB 4 devices are clear to roll out next year, followed by, well, some Apple Watch news, including self-tightening, skin texture authentication, and LED progress bar. Kind of interesting news. And here we were thinking that we might not be getting a lot out of the September event coming in like a week for Apple, so we'll be maybe hearing something new. We'll also be taking a look at Intel unveils Frontera, the world's fastest academic supercomputer. And in gaming news, we'll be taking a look at, well, a new Cyberpunk 2077 video. First person, it looks like what this game is shaping up to be, and definitely an interesting demo at that. We'll be getting into that. And finally, we'll be taking a look at, well, the value of WoW Classic is more than just nostalgia. But before we get to that, well, let's take a look back on today in tech history. All right, today's September 3rd, 2019. On this day in 1995, the online auction site eBay is launched as AuctionWeb by Pierre Omidyar. The first item sold, a broken laser pointer, wasn't actually intended to sell, but rather to test the new site itself. Started as a hobby. Surprised that the item actually sold for $14.83, Omidyar contacted the buyer to make sure he knew the laser pointer was broken, to which was replied, "I'm a collector of broken laser pointers." From that first $14, essentially $15, he's now worth billions of dollars. Also on this day in history, on 1982, Steve Wozniak's U.S. festival begins. You see, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak had taken a leave of absence from Apple following a plane crash in 1981. During this period, Woz started the U.S. Festival, an outdoor concert and technology expo held in San Bernardino in Southern California. The first festival was held on Labor Day weekend in 1982, featuring large air-conditioned tents to host the U.S. Festival Technology Exposition and a state-of-the-art stage for the musical acts. Temperatures peaked at over 100 degrees on all 3 days of the festival. I don't think San Bernardino was the greatest place to have it. The lineup for opening day included the B-52s, Talking Heads, English Beat, and headliners, The Police. The U.S. Festival returned in 1983, but in total wound up losing more than $20 million, and didn't happen much beyond that. And I think Steve then decided to go back to Apple Computer shortly thereafter. I tell you, history. Well, where would we be without it? With that out of the way, let's head on over to today's feature story. All right, today's feature story is on the screen right now. For those of you interested in any of the articles that we cover on today's show, head on over to TechNewsGadget.net. And, well, right now, it's the most magical time of the year. It's Intel Gamer Days. What does that mean exactly? Well, deals. Today, Amazon has some excellent deals on gaming laptops, many of which include free software. Not talking about Excel here, talking about games. And the good kind of software here. First off, you'll notice a lot of the software bundles for Intel Gamer Days don't give much in the way of details. Now, some of the computer systems below that we'll be taking a look at include PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Total War 3 Kingdoms, while others include the Elite software bundle, details of which are still shrouded in mystery. First up, we're looking at the Razer Blade Stealth 13 on sale at Amazon for right around 1100 US. A lovely little laptop with an Intel i7 8565U CPU and GeForce MX 150, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of SSD, and a gorgeous FHD 13-inch display. The MX 150 is far from the most powerful GPU in NVIDIA's GeForce line, but the beauty of the Stealth is that you can plug it into the Razer Core X external GPU enclosure and use basically any modern GPU you want. It's the best of both worlds, the portability of a laptop with the gaming power of a desktop PC, and something that Razer's always kind of been known for here. Next up, we'll be taking a look at the Acer Predator Helios 300, which is on sale at Amazon right now for 830 US. And the author here has been a fan of the Predator line for many years. Just really nice. This one has a 144Hz display, Intel i7 8750H, GeForce GTX 1060 6 gigs card, 6 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and a 256 gigabyte NVMe SSD, all on sale. And on top of that, it looks like a futuristic fighter jet. Just don't try throwing it around, or you're going to be out 830 bucks. Also, there's the Dell G515 on sale on Amazon for, well, right around 700 US with an Intel i5 8300H CPU and GeForce 1050 Ti GPU. Perfect blend of value and power. You won't have any trouble playing almost any game you want with it, and it's priced just under 700. There's a link to it as well. Then there's the Lenovo IdeaPad L340 gaming laptop. Pricing is right around $600. Hiding inside this unassuming gaming laptop from Lenovo is an Intel Core i5-9300H, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 GPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and a spacious 512 gigs of NVMe SSD. No need to know that you have a gaming laptop, and Lenovo is probably the most understated of the gaming laptops on sale for Intel Gamer Days at Amazon right now in terms of price. There's also the MSI GL63 on sale for around 700 as well. This one has an Intel Core i7 8750H, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 GPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gigabyte NVMe SSD for storage. This one will obviously probably fill up quickly once you count for the Windows installation, so get a portable hard drive like the WD 4 terabyte that's on sale as well. But if your budget is like 1100 or less, this will fit you in nicely, anywhere between 1100 and 700. So yeah, Intel Gamer Days, and then the bundles that come along with it, like we said, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Total War 3 Kingdoms. Otherwise, there's the Elite Software bundle, the details of which remain shrouded in mystery. Do you know what they are? If you do, let us know down in the comments. Some of us are just dying to hear what's in it. But yeah, these are laptops, guys. Not desktops, laptops. It's quite impressive that they're actually gaming worthy. But if you're looking for something that's within this price range and you don't want the, immovability of a desktop computer and you don't want to carry around monitors and everything, well, these laptops will do you quite well. So what do you think? Is there anything we missed in this lineup? Be sure to let us know. We are on Twitter at TechNewsGadget. Otherwise, obviously, this is obviously a link to an IGN article, and they probably have a bunch of other links towards it too. But yeah, today is Intel Gamer Days. Deals to be had, things to be bought, games to be played. Would you want to miss out? I don't know. I have plenty of games that I need to finish up anyways. For those of you wondering, this isn't my full-time job. This is like a part-time hobby that I do on the side. I mean, considering my full-time job takes most of my day, and then I have a family to take care of on top of that, and then on top of that, I have a side business that I've going on, and then I have this. I don't even have much time to play video games at all. I mean, I kind of squeeze in a little bit of time here and there, and I don't know. Like I said, I need to make clones. So if you actually have some details on how to, clone yourself, but still retain the memories and absorb the knowledge of the clone that you made, that'd be great. Let me know. I'll provide you my email address. We can go from there. I'm just totally kidding, but no, I'm serious. Send it to me. I'd love it. Alright, moving on to some more tech news. Well, Wi-Fi 6 is barely here, but, well, Wi-Fi 7 just decided it wanted to barrel right in and steal the show. So, for those of you wondering, Wi-Fi 6 is just now arriving in phones, laptops, and network equipment, but engineers are already turning their attention to what'll come next, Wi-Fi 7. With speeds as high as 30 gigabits per second, the next generation of Wi-Fi promises better streaming video, longer range, and fewer problems with traffic congestion. The change will come in a series of steps, beginning with improvements to Wi-Fi 6 that laid a groundwork for the expected arrival of Wi-Fi 7 in 2024. According to Qualcomm's Vice President of Technology, VK Jones, he said, "I'm excited about delivering a gigabit everywhere in your house, every nook and cranny. You'll be at the point where wireless is faster than wired." Interesting. In a talk and subsequent interview at Qualcomm's Wi-Fi Day in August, Jones shared some details on how Wi-Fi 7 will work. He expects 3 phases of improvements over today's Wi-Fi 6, which in technical circles, for those of you wondering, is called 802.11ax. So the first expected improvements will give Wi-Fi 6 more capacity, with new airwaves that US and European governments are likely to open up for radio transmission as soon as next year. Second, an update to Wi-Fi 6 in 2022 should improve its speeds, especially for people uploading data like videos from phones or PCs. Third, and perhaps the most interesting, is a collection of Wi-Fi upgrades expected in 2024 and still only known by its technical name of 802.11be. And it's actually quite interesting. You see, a lot of people are really ready to officially call the next version Wi-Fi 7. That includes the Wi-Fi Alliance, the consortium that comes up with the numbers and bestows its Wi-Fi logo on products that pass its certification tests. Heck, its program to certify Wi-Fi 6 products only begins later this year. Still, you don't have to be a soothsayer to see this future coming. The last 3 Wi-Fi engineering standards, which was 802.11n, 11ac, and 11ax, have been certified as Wi-Fi 4, 5, and 6 respectively, so 802.11be is a strong candidate to receive the Wi-Fi 7 label. The Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, which develops the 802.11 standards that the Wi-Fi Alliance later certifies, is already at work on 802.11be. It's the IEEE working group that's proposed the 30 gigabyte speed in its projected authorization request. For comparison, CNET here, they've tested some things out to show that Wi-Fi 6 is delivering a maximum of 1.3 gigs. Could you imagine 30? I mean, you're like looking at this standard going, okay, if Wi-Fi 6 is 1.3 at max, and then Wi-Fi 7 is 30, like, what the heck happened with the gap? Like, man, it's quite impressive. So they go on to explain a little bit more about Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7, for those of you who are interested in reading more. But yeah, Wi-Fi 6 is like barely out here. Wi-Fi 7 is already on the way. Which are you looking forward to most, Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 7? Let me know in the comments. We'd love to have a further conversation about this. Me, I'm excited. I love seeing technological advancements. This is the main reason why I do this show and why I like to cover these kind of subjects. I don't like talking about just gadgets or talking about just gaming. I mean, what got me interested was the fact of, look at technology, how it's changing and shifting and evolving over the years. I mean, we went from like 100 years ago or like 50, 70 years ago, these big, huge, massive computers that took up like football fields and warehouses and rooms and storage and required all of this stuff. And it did so little. Now, this, what I'm holding in the palm of my hand, a phone, can like just, it's incredible. Just power, the technology. That's the main reason why I like sharing articles like these. Hopefully you're excited. I'm excited. Let's see what's next up. Ooh, what's next up is USB 4 devices. Yeah, just when you're starting to get used to USB 3, going, what? There's different USBs? Yes, and the thing is, if you don't happen to keep an eye on it, you'll buy a computer and then you'll look at it and you'll look at the port and you'll go, why in the world does it look different? And why can't I plug? It's just the USB port. Why can't I plug it in? Well, it's because it's different. There's different USB ports. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. Now, the USB IF has finalized the standard specifications. They announced today that the organization has finalized the technical specs for USB 4. These specs will be making their way to designers, engineers, and manufacturers shortly, meaning that we can expect the first USB 4 products to hit shelves sometime in 2020. Now, the highlight of the new standard is its dual-lane 40 gigabytes per second speed, matching Thunderbolt 3's transfer rate and doubling that of USB 3.2's. Thunderbolt, you guys got something up your sleeve, or you kind of gonna crash and burn? I don't know. We'll find out. USB 4 will use the same form factor as USB Type-C and will be backward compatible with USB 3.2, 2.0, and Thunderbolt 3. In other words, you'll be able to use just about any existing USB Type-C device with a machine featuring a USB 4 bus. The new connection will be similar to USB 3 in that it will support both data and display protocols, so expect to see more monitors featuring USB connections in addition to some HDMI ports. Now, the dichotomy between USB 3 and Thunderbolt 3 has been quite frustrating for consumers. While USB 3 is a ubiquitous connection, it transfers data at half the speed at best of the rather elusive Thunderbolt 3. USB 4 will essentially merge those two standards, creating a two-lane 40 gigabytes per second connection that will hopefully become a unified connection across devices and platforms. Now, the main reason why Thunderbolt 3 has been such a boon for creative professionals and power users is that 40 gigabyte per second transfer rate, allowing for streamlined video editing, animation, and modeling workflows. It has also enabled the introduction of new product categories such as external GPUs. Now, having the speed of Thunderbolt 3 as a universal connection will bring these capabilities to everyday consumers, making data backups and transfers a faster and easier experience. Now, granted, when it first rolls out, you'll see the price point and you'll go, ugh, that's too much money. But give it some time, it'll soon go down in price, and it'll become right in that little sweet spot where you can just purchase it and you'll be like, yeah, this is worth the cost. And then you'll be like, I didn't know that a price would be that low. Man, that's incredible. It's basically like you can buy a calculator for like $1 now. And they'd be like, well, yeah, but we're like 3 steps ahead of it. We're on like USB 7 now, and you guys totally missed 4. You're like, what? Oh, dude, that's totally awesome. But that's exactly how it's going to go, because you guys are going to be like, why are there so many different standards going on? Well, because as technology moves and shifts and adapts, and we need, bigger, better, faster, stronger, smarter technologies, you're going to start seeing a lot more things shifting and changing and churning. That's just the world of technology for you. Don't you love it? Ooh, speaking of, well, we weren't expected to hear much about anything about the Apple Watch, but, well, seeing as how the event for Apple's September event will be happening in about a week's time, we weren't really expecting news to be coming out about the Apple Watch, but apparently the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office today granted Apple several patents for smart Apple Watch bands with features, get this, such as biometric authentication, self-tightening, and an LED progress indicator. Interesting. Now, for those of you wondering, yes, there's actually that video that goes along with the show. So if you'd like to see how some of the sensors and patents might look, head on over to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. Otherwise, if you are on the go, feel free to listen to this podcast in whatever app you desire. Details at latest in TechNews.com. Now, the first patent here describes an Apple Watch band with a sensor that can authenticate the wearer based on, get this, patterns on the wrist skin's texture. More particularly, skin texture cracks are generally warmer than the surrounding skin, and hair is cooler than the surrounding skin. By using an IR thermal image sensor as the wrist biometric sensor, hair can be distinguished thermally from skin texture cracks by temperature. Who would have thought? This feature would eliminate the need to enter a passcode on the Apple Watch or a paired iPhone to unlock that watch. Kind of interesting here. The second patent describes a self-tightening Apple Watch band. If the wearer is running or working out, for example, a band could automatically tighten in order to ensure it has a snug fit on the wrist while exercising. Upon completion of that physical activity, the band would then automatically loosen. Apple Watch users would be able to set locations where the band automatically tightens upon arrival, such as a gym. In other examples, the band could automatically tighten to notify a user of an upcoming turn while walking, driving, or swimming, interesting, to help the wearer count repetitions while weightlifting, or to notify the wearer that they have reached certain distance intervals while running, such as every mile. Interesting. I got a couple indicators on screen. The self-tightening band could also be part of a two-factor authentication system on the Apple Watch, as described in the patent. For example, if a user wishes to access financial details hosted on a banking website, the banking website may require both the user's credentials and a verification of a number of tightening-loosening patterns sent to a wearable electronic device previously authenticated by the banking website. Does this have anything to do with the Apple Card? I will find out. In one example, a tactile pattern may be a series of 5 squeezes of the user's wrist. Example, tightening and loosening in a sequence. The user may thereafter enter 5 to gain access to the banking website. The third patent describes an Apple Watch band with an LED indicator that could visualize the progress of an activity or task, such as completion of a walk, stand, and exercise rings. Interesting. The indicator could also serve as an easy way to check an Apple Watch's remaining battery life at a glance. That way you don't have to actually open the whole entire watch up and then tap around and find battery power. Now, Apple is hosting that special event at Steve Jobs Theater next Tuesday, where it is widely expected to unveil new iPhone and Apple Watch models. While a seasonal band refresh is expected, there's been no rumors or leaks about smart bands. Might this be one of them? Well, we'll find out. Keep in mind that Apple is granted dozens of patents every week, and many of the inventions do not see the light of day. Patents are also very detailed, encompassing many possible ideas, even ones that Apple might not have any plans to advance. So whether that comes to fruition or not remains to be seen, but yeah, that would be kind of cool. Any of these patents would be cool. Actually, I'd be quite interested in this first one. Just seriously, wrist authenticator, the texture of your skin, temperature. Dude, this is nuts. Moving on to some more gadget news, Intel went ahead and unveiled Frontera, the world's fastest academic supercomputer. In August 2018, Dell EMC and Intel announced intentions to jointly design Frontera, an academic supercomputer funded by a $60 million grant from the National Science Foundation that would replace Stampede 2 at the University of Texas at TAC. Those plans came to fruition in June when the two companies deployed Frontera, which was formally unveiled this morning. Get this, Intel claims that Frontera can achieve peak performance of 38.7 quadrillion floating point operations per second, or petaflops, making it the world's fastest computer designed for academic workloads like modeling and simulation, big data, and machine learning. That's compared to Stampede 2's peak performance of 18 petaflops. Man, see what I mean about technology advancing so quick? I mean, Stampede 2 was like, yeah, our peak performance is 18 petaflops. What can the Frontera do? 38.7 quadrillion petaflops. What? What the heck? I don't know. Earlier this year, Frontera earned the 5th spot on the twice annual Top 500 list with 23.5 petaflops on the LinkPack benchmark, which ranks the world's most powerful non-distributed computer systems. According to Intel Vice President and General Manager of Intel's Extreme Computing Organization, Trish Damkroger. Yeah. The Frontera system will provide researchers computational and artificial intelligence capabilities that have not existed before for academic research. With Intel technology, this new supercomputer opens up new possibilities in science and engineering to advance research, including cosmic understanding, medical cures, and energy needs. Hundreds of 28-core second-gen Xeon scalable Cascade Lake processors slotted within Dell EMC PowerEdge servers handle Frontera's heavy computational lifting alongside NVIDIA nodes for single precision computing. The chip's architecture is based on Intel's Advanced Vector Extensions 512, a set of instructions that enables twice the number of flops per clock compared with the previous generation. And just in case you wanted to drool further, Frontera employs liquid cooling for the majority of its nodes, with Dell EMC supplying water and oil cooling from system integration firm Coolit and green revolution cooling, and it leverages Melonic's HDR and HDR100 interconnects to transmit data at speeds of up to 200 gigabytes per link per second between the switches that connect its 8,008 nodes. Keep in mind, each node is anticipated to draw around 65 kilowatts of power, roughly a third of which TAC is procuring from wind power credits and wind power production in addition to solar power. In addition to storage, Frontera features 4 different environments architected by data direct networks, which together total more than 50 petabytes paired with 3 petabytes of NAND flash capable. In case you're wondering, what does this work out to? About 480 gigabytes of SSD storage per node. 3 are general purpose in nature, while the 4th boasts very fast connectivity of up to 1.5 terabytes per second. Yeah, this computer is nuts. Like, if you ever were like, yeah, I wonder if I could do this really complex calculation, but it's done. I thought usually that'd take like a half hour. It's done already? Yeah. Yep. Well, there you go. Frontera, the world's fastest academic supercomputer. Moving on to some gaming news. Well, the new Cyberpunk 2077 video looks great, but the Gamescom demo was even better. Plus, our first look at the PC's ray tracing features. A year after its initial gameplay debut, CG Projekt Red treated Gamescom 2019 attendees to a new slice of Cyberpunk 2077 with Digital Foundry on site to check it out. The lack of assets at the time prevented the author here, from sharing many of the thoughts, but the good news is that they followed up on the event by releasing a 14-minute video showing some, but certainly not all, of the content. What we have on display here continues to impress, but it is somewhat surprising to see a presentation that isn't a match for the Gamescom or E3 demos that some people saw in person. Keep in mind, some people have complained about the lack of detail and definition in the latest demo, despite CDPR supplying a 4K video encode to YouTube servers, and there does seem to be an explanation for this. To our eyes, and indeed our pixel counts, the new footage is running at 1080p before being upscaled to 4K. However, it is still operating at 30 frames per second. It's a bit of an oddity, as we saw the game running in real time on a massive LED or LCD display, similar to the Gamescom 2018 showing, which was running at a native 4K. Can't confirm pixel counts for sure, but our showing was clearly running at a much higher resolution for those who watched. Interestingly, the drop in resolution in the video has a big impact to the quality of the overall presentation. But I guess there's more. There's more. With that said, though, Cyberpunk 2077 enjoys some clear visual upgrades over last year's demo, whether using a ray tracing enabled GPU or not. For starters, reflection quality is vastly improved. This aspect of the game doesn't seem to be ray traced, relying instead on screen space reflections instead, seen in The Witcher 3, but curiously omitted from last year's Cyberpunk demonstration, which seemed to rely on direct lighting and cube maps to approximate the effect. SSR in the new demo looked really nice in puddles and metalwork, and reasonably robust, which is no mean feat based on some of the dodgy implementations that they've seen. Resident Evil 2 Remake 4.1. So, let's see. In terms of that, Cyberpunk 2077 remains just as impressive today as it did at debut, and its technical refinements are obviously welcome. But by extension, does this mean that the biggest question of all remains unanswered? Just how well of a game of this complexity going to run on current-gen consoles? The demo once again highlights an immense level of scale, detail, and density that we'd associate with a next-gen game. In a world where The Witcher 3 runs on Switch, anything's possible, keep in mind. But regardless, how's this going to look like? How is this going to play? How's this going to feel? I don't know. They got video that goes along with it. Ooh, and that's all I'm going to show about it. But yeah, there's actually a link in this article to that video in case you missed it, you wanted to see it, get the impressions of the demo, Gamescom, and then some, Cyberpunk 2077. Let's hear it if you guys are interested in the game. I'll find out. I might need to see some more demos about it, but I know there's a lot of buzz going on around it, so I want to be sure to share some news about that for you guys. And finally, well, we got an article here from GameSpot.com. The value of WoW Classic is more than just nostalgia. Now the author here, the subtitled it, "There and Back Again." I died 8 times before hitting level 10 in World of Warcraft Classic. Compared to vanilla World of Warcraft back in 2005, that was probably a lot more efficient than the first time around. In a live or retail or whatever the current version of World of Warcraft, you really only die once in open world if you make a stupid mistake, while Classic is a surprising reminder that the game once seemed to be deeply comfortable with making players fall on their face. In 2 years since WoW Classic was announced at BlizzCon 2017, the mood has shifted dramatically. At first, the majority of the sentiment wondered, well, why would someone want to go back? Keep in mind, for those of you watching on Twitch, all the content of WoW Classic, we're up to like 55 million hours collectively, and it's not even been like a month. At first, while there's a hardcore tribe of vanilla WoW fans so serious about the old school experience, they'd been chasing a black market private service to get that OG feeling any way they could, felt very different. In recent months, with the classic beta giving many players and streamers a chance to look back and let the nostalgia love flow back into their hearts, it seems like everyone was ready for launch day. Indeed, too many were ready for launch day. The queues were ridiculous, over 20,000 strong, and half a day wait times on some servers. Luckily for some, rotten for others, server crashes saw the queues rotate a little faster, but those who crashed out found themselves sent back to the queue. Blizzard launched extra servers to spread the load and help people jump in and have some fun. But the reason so many stayed in those queues instead of jumping into an easy server was a big part of what exactly people were coming back to Classic to look for. No, not the queue itself. A true day one experience. LOL was a catch cry, but the reason people stayed put was fundamental. People made plans to play with old friends, reform, old guilds, and once the plans were in place, you really couldn't just swap to a new server on the fly. Classic is all about community. Even in those early levels, the game plays in ways akin to why people are falling in love with more recent games that are lauded for their difficulty. Yes, World of Warcraft really isn't a hard game in the same way that Dark Souls is, but to succeed with minimal delay, you need friends to get by. Back in 2005, while seen as so ubiquitous in Silicon Valley circles, it built that reputation as a kind of new golf, a place where people would meet and hang out, run a dungeon, do some fishing, discuss business while sitting in Booty Bay, and then, get massacred by people. Ugh, for crying out loud. If it wasn't there, it was on one of the other cities. Some of that may have all been talk, but the author here, in their own experience as an early tech and games journalist, they made friends with future colleagues through the game. They joined a guild, spent time regularly with people that they'd met in the industry, which helped solidify work contacts, interestingly enough, and networks. To go on to say, if I'd started World of Warcraft in more recent years, the years since automated random dungeons and raid queues and tools that let you group with people without ever needing to type a word or know their names, don't feel like you would have built such friend networks through the game so easily. During the first few days of WoW Classic, with everyone at low levels, sharing scant resources and mobs in the earliest areas of the game, spontaneous groups would form as people helped each other complete quests. They would actually wait and take turns to complete a quest to progress a little bit faster and with minimal loss of life. Interestingly enough, the author here was invited to a group on their very first quest at level 1. The global chat channel in a multiplayer game was actually full of nice and helpful comments for once, as people answered each other's questions or requests for help. It was like a time before social media had made us all the jaded cynics that we've all, had, but hadn't uncovered just yet. But keep in mind, you could always probably drop a joke or two or a Murloc joke in there, and you just have the whole chat go nuts. I should try that. I should just log into WoW Classic just for the simple fact of going in and dropping like a Murloc joke or something that I did when I first was on WoW many years ago. Yeah. Named mobs for early quests were a particular problem. At first, people just formed circles and grouped up in parties of 5. If you got the first hit, lucky for you and your 4 friends. But then rumors started to circulate that some servers were forming spontaneous queues for bottleneck kills. And if you hadn't seen the screenshots, you might think it's an urban myth. Here's how you do it right. If you're going to do it right way, build a line. Oh my goodness. And another quote goes on to explain, my friend is literally waiting in a line to kill a quest mob on World of Warcraft Classic launch day. Lol. Nope. Not mixing it up. On one of the servers that was launched to alleviate the overly long queues, the author here jumped in to just be in the game running around having some fun. One of the most common chat questions was a concern that this particular server, shiny and new with no queue at the door, was a bit too empty. People wanted to be playing, but they wanted to be playing with many other people. Delays while waiting for boards or quest bosses were less worrisome than the idea that we might end up in Azeroth alone again. So yeah, I think that essentially covers it. World of Warcraft Classic delivers on that nostalgia, and the reasons to play it goes beyond its graphics and mechanics. So yeah, keep in mind, if you didn't know why, that's kind of the big reason why, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm getting so tempted to just want to just for a month, drop in on this nostalgia and go, I remember the days, because I made a lot of pretty good friends of whom I haven't talked to in many years on World of Warcraft back in the days. Helped with quest, helped with stuff, great guild mates, guild friends, hung out with each other. I think the only thing we did was like log in the evenings, and we just play for like several hours at a time, just blabbing about stuff and killing stuff. Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. But yeah, if you hadn't actually, here, think about it this way: if you never really understood the whole nostalgia and the feeling behind it, now is a great time to jump right in while the iron's hot, as it were. If you're, wanting to jump in on a game but weren't quite sure, just jump in on it for a month. It's not really that much money. I'm sure you could save yourself the money from buying a battle pass on Fortnite and just drop it on World of Warcraft Classic for a month and just run around for a month, hang out with people, have some fun, and yeah, see how it goes from there. You might just be surprised. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the Latest in Tech News. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes every weekday. The Latest in Tech News can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button and by leaving a comment if you're watching today via YouTube. Also, well, if you're listening via the podcast, we'd appreciate it if you could give us a review out on Apple Podcasts or wherever you happen to be listening. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend. Be sure to double check, finally, that you're subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. I'm your host, Taylor American. Remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much, keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.